Hello and welcome to National Focus. I am Julian Morris. In the headlines, Parliamentary Representative for Wesley satisfied with progress on Dominica's International Airport. Preparations at Windsor Park Stadium as Dominica prepares to host international test cricket. And recognition ceremony as Dominica nurses observe International Nurses Day. The details of the headline stories and more when we return. Welcome back. Parliamentary Representative for the Wesley constituency, Honourable Fidel Grant, is satisfied with the progress of preparatory work for the construction of Dominica's International Airport. Equipment for the construction of the International Airport arrived in Dominica on March 4, 2023. That equipment has since been moved to Wesley, where site preparation works have advanced. Minister Grant is pleased with the level of work that has been accomplished over the last 2 months and the resulting benefits for his constituents.
If you drive through the village, it's practically a ghost town during the day, and that is because everybody is working. And there are a number of young men, they are both laborers, there are some skilled who are working on the geotechnical, so we have a number of young men. So it's not that they are only working, but they are developing a skill in terms of geotechnical surveys and testing, surveying, and it's a significant number of them. So you have those who are laborers, skilled, semi-skilled, geotechnical, and then you also have a number of them who are working at the lab. So they are getting a first-hand view as to what it is like and so on. So if they have an interest in that, we were hoping that we can provide them with an opportunity for studies in terms of scholarships and so on.
Mr. Grant says that work on the concrete batching plant is nearing completion.
So that is almost operational, so to speak, because there are a lot of the equipment, a lot of the parts and so on. They still have a lot of work to do in terms of the concrete batching plant. So that is done on it's close to the airport, because as you would imagine that you would have to transport the concrete and you want it as close as possible. So we leased a portion of land from the Armour, so that is where they are doing that now. It's what is being described as a Chinese village. It's not a Chinese village, it's Chinese housing. So we have a number of houses that have been complete because we are expecting a large contingent of workers. So they have built prefab houses. So it's not permanent structures, it's prefab houses for residences, because the houses that they are in now, which were previously owned by persons in Wesley, is temporary. So they will be moving across to that temporary housing in the palm tree area in a short time, because most of it is complete, a significant part of it is complete.
The government of Dominica views the international airport as a significant stepping stone in Dominica's development. It is over 53 years since Dominica began exploring the construction of an international airport. However, construction has only been accomplished under the Dominica Labour Party administration led by Prime Minister Honourable Roosevelt Skerrit. Dominica is preparing to once again host international test cricket at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium. The first test match of the Indian tour of the West Indies will take place in Dominica in early July. Minister with responsibility for sports, Honourable Oscar George, says government is leaving no stone unturned to ensure that the return of international test cricket is successful.
India is one of the largest, most influential cricketing teams in the world. So as such, we have to prepare, we have to ensure that all our I's are dotted, all our T's are crossed to host the mighty India. But we have done that in the past, so we know what to do. We expect certain things. We have put in place at the top level a ministerial committee made up of a number of ministers, just to oversee the planning process for the games, and then just below them they will have a technical committee made up of various permanent secretaries and various technical persons from the Ministry of Sports and other ministries, just to do the day-to-day work. And of course we have a local organizing committee which is housed at the Dominica Cricket Association, and their job is also very important to ensure that all the legwork is done and done in a timely fashion.
Dominicans are encouraged to support and patronize the match. Minister George says the usual lively atmosphere will be on display.
The Winter Park, as we know, is a wonderful facility. Obviously, you will need some small upgrades, aesthetics, decoration, stuff like that ahead of the game. An important part is the outfield. There have been some concerns about the color of the outfield, but there's nothing to be alarmed. We have been doing some treatment to the outfield, removing all the unwanted grass. And so the contractor is doing a good job. As you can see now, some greening is coming back in the outfield, and we expect works to be completed very soon. So we have our outfield back to lush green to encourage cricket. So the preparations are ongoing nicely. These committees, they meet regularly. We do site visits. We are in communication with the Cricket West Indies personnel. We're in communication with the local organizing committee to ensure that everything is in order. And of course, an important part of that whole cricket is the marketing aspect. We will take that opportunity to market Dominica as much as practically possible.
It is hoped that Dominican Alec Atanas will make his test debut at the match. Dominica joined the rest of the world in observance of International Nurses Day with a recognition ceremony held at the Dominica-China Friendship Hospital. International Nurses Day was celebrated worldwide under the theme, Our Nurses, Our Future, a global campaign which aims to address global health challenges and achieve better global health for all. As part of the ceremony, departmental nurses and ward sisters were recognized for their outstanding work and dedication. Acting departmental nurse Ms. Magdalene Joseph says the theme for this year's Nurses Week honors the contribution of nurses to the healthcare profession and to society.
The 2023 Nurses Week theme, Nurses Make a Difference Anytime, Anywhere, Always, honors the unwavering commitment of nurses globally, recognizing the incredible work that we do for others in the healthcare industry and commitment to our profession. Whenever called upon, as nurses, we are always ready and willing to take up the challenge and to accomplish our mission. International Nurses Day is celebrated around the world to mark contributions nurses make to society. This year, the theme is Our Nurses, Our Future. The theme demonstrated the many roles that nurses play in a patient healthcare life.
Interim nursing manager at the Dominica-China Friendship Hospital, Ms. Emmeline Matthew, says International Nurses Day is a day to recognize the efforts of the nurses over the years.
I am filled with immense pride for all that we have accomplished as nurses and as a team, and therefore could not let this day pass by without recognizing your sterling effort and contribution as nurses. All of the experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as we would tend to describe them, have fortified our resolve and our dedication to our work. We have committed ourselves to providing service to our clients in the most difficult times and situations. We have pledged ourselves to a noble profession and sometimes a thankless one. Sometimes the only gratification comes from knowing that at the end of the day, we have done our best in sometimes less than ideal situations.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of the Dominica Hospitals Authority, Ms. Nancy Francis, described the theme, Our Nurses, Our Future, as timely, as nurses are important to the healthcare reform agenda in Dominica.
You are very much appreciated by us at this hospital. You are valuable and visible. We value your service and we value your contribution to the overall healthcare system in Dominica. As we embrace the future, I call on you to be even more visible by adding your voice to the overall health reform agenda and by advocating for patient-centered care by everyone involved in the care regime for patients. We need you, our nurses, our future.
Minister for Health, Wellness and Social Services, Honorable Kasani Laville, says government is committed to delivering quality health care while appreciating the efforts of the nurses.
The theme is also a stark reminder that we have a distinct role to take care of our nurses and to ensure that their needs are met as they work to address the global challenges and to improve global health for all. As stated in my radio address earlier this morning, healthcare in any country is very critical, extremely critical, and constantly evolving. As a government, we continue to foster even greater efficiency in delivering quality healthcare, whilst not losing focus of how important that you all are to us.
International Nurses Day is celebrated on May 12 annually. A team from the Caribbean Development Bank is currently on island exploring the preparation of the Caribbean Action Resilience Program, CARE. The CARE program is a 5-year, €14 million initiative to support disaster risk management and climate resilience building efforts in CDB member countries. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, Mr. Reginald Sevre, says Dominica stands to benefit from the CARE program.
That program is basically to contribute in reducing the impact of climate change and also disasters in the areas that are prone to disasters such as Dominica within the fray of the CDB. Hopefully, it will help us in developing governance mechanisms for disaster risk management and also in setting up a basis for developing agricultural resilience. It is a project, hopefully, once we complete it, it will provide up to $800,000 to the Ministry of Agriculture to implement DRM protocols and practices and set up the governance structure for that.
Government will also engage the CDB team in discussions on enhancing agro-processing while in Dominica.
What is the most suitable crops that we could really pursue in our agro-processing portfolio? We will explore ways in which we can attract financing for toloma, for cassava, and also based on our discussions with the Cubans last week, where we're going to explore the development of bioproducts, we're hoping that we are able to discuss with CDB the potential for financing these new areas for investments using science and technology in the agricultural sector.
The Caribbean Development Bank team on island is headed by the CDB's Agriculture Officer, Dominican Malcolm Wallace. You're watching National Focus. More when we return. Welcome back. The Ministry of Agriculture has come to the end of its Meet the Farmers initiative with the tour of the South Agricultural Region on Wednesday, May 10, 2023. Adisa Burton has more in this report.
The Meet the Farmers tour was conceptualized as a way for the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and the Blue and Green Economy to engage farmers in order to understand their needs and challenges while paving a way to address them. The island's agricultural sector, like many other sectors, suffered millions of dollars in damage after Hurricane Maria, and many farmers are still recovering from personal loss. On Wednesday, the tour began with a visit to the white potato and citrus farm in Girardel, followed by a visit to a tree crop and vegetable production farm. The team also conducted site visits to a number of production and agro-processing farms in Bellevue-Chopé and Grand Bay, as well as a sea musk production site. The tour then concluded with a town hall meeting at the Pierre Charles Secondary School, where agricultural officials addressed the farmers. Farmers were also given the opportunity to voice their concerns and ask questions. Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and the Blue and Green Economy, Honorable Roland Roye, says one of the main challenges that the ministry will address is the issue of irrigation.
As we are in the dry season, we saw the need for irrigation in certain areas that can do irrigation. Once you have water access, we saw farmers really struggling because of the dry period we're going through now. So areas that can really do irrigation, we have projects to be unfold. We'll do the assessment. One can accommodate. We can maybe discuss and decide on some demonstration plots to see how successful we can do that. And of course, across the island, we saw the issue of farm labor, where farmers saying they can't find adequate labor or quality labor, or the labor is too expensive, or they cannot find workers at all. So we've seen that. We at the ministry, we're trying to put system in place. We are doing a study now with IOM to do a national strategy as to how we're going to address the farm labor issue.
Parliamentary representative for the Rosa South constituency, Honorable Shakira Lockhart-Hippolyte, pledged her support to assist farmers in her constituency.
The visit was a great one. They have a few challenges, one with their farm access, their road, and with irrigation system and water supply. And so, as the parliamentary representative, I'm giving both of these farmers that we have visited today the commitment that I'll try my best to assist them with their challenges. We have already given some assistance in the form of technical support and also financial with the farm access roads, but I will do more in this term to assist them because I have seen what they're doing, and I believe that if we assist them even further, they can produce more.
Member of Parliament for the Grand Bay constituency, Dr. Honorable Vince Henderson, thanked the farmers for their contribution to Dominica's security and overall sustainability.
But I want to thank all of you farmers for continuing to do something that is very important for our country. We know that we must eat, and we're hoping that we can eat more of what we produce. And as next year is unfolding its Buy Dominica campaign, will depend on you to provide the food that we'll be promoting and encouraging people to eat, especially as we continue to struggle with non-communicable diseases. We need to really consider what we eat.
Mr. Julian Theophil of Girardel, who is a white potato and citrus farmer, says he has had success with his white potatoes.
I'm doing very well. I must admit I'm doing very well in the farming business. I've been a board jobber for over 17 years in the farming. I'm doing good. So I'm so happy to see, I realized like the potato season passed, the government was very much involved, you know what I mean? And that gave me a little boost. Like we had so many ministers attending meeting with us, so I'm so happy that to see the government very interested in the farming business in North America, and that gave me a little strength. This year I planted potato, I did very well. I planted 50 per bag. I sold over 425 bags already.
The visit to the South Agriculture region concluded the series of tours which covered all 7 districts. Adicia Burton for the Government Information Service.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank has acknowledged the prudence with which the Roosevelt Skerrit-led administration functions, particularly in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, the COVID-19 pandemic, and Russia's war on Ukraine. The ECCB held a news conference here last week where the organization projected economic growth for Dominica over the next 2 years. That news conference marked the end of the ECCB's country outreach to Dominica as part of its 40th anniversary activities. ECCB's Deputy Governor, Dr. Valda Henry, spoke to concerns raised by some that projections of economic growth by the CDB and the IMF are not always immediately apparent on the ground.
But I must say I am really very impressed, and Governor spoke to it about it in terms of Dominica government, their prudence in terms of managing the resources and the finances when you see in terms of their standing at ECCB, in very good standing. We know that the Dominica, unlike a lot of the others, have had more exogenous shocks We've had Tropical Storm Erica. Other countries didn't have that in the region. We've had Tropical Storm Maria. They didn't have that. And so while, yes, they would have had other things, because, you know, St. Vincent had the floods of 2014, which we also had. St. Vincent had the volcano, which we didn't have. So St. Vincent and Dominica maybe were the two countries with greater shocks during, let's say, the last 5 to 7 years. And then came COVID that just knocked us all out, and I mean globally.
Dr. Henry says one must put Dominica's recovery into perspective, bearing in mind the island's unique circumstances.
To see how Dominica have started to recover. But Dominica recovery, when somebody looks at it, is a little slower when you look in terms of even the ECCU region and ours. But you have to recognize from where we came. And we came from a lower space than the others. And so that is in fact remarkable. But what we are seeing and what we are battling with our countries and worldwide is inflation. And as Governor would have explained, our inflation is imported inflation. Why? Because we import more than we export. And so as inflation is a big issue in the US, which is where our greatest trading partner, we are feeling it here.
She says the resulting increased food and fuel prices stem from the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on an already high food import bill.
The cost of shipping has gone up tremendously. That, to a large extent, influenced by the Russia-Ukraine war. The cost of food items, persons didn't realize that most of the grain came from Ukraine. They're like, really now? It's only as that happened. And what we've seen is that while overall inflation may be about, in Dominica case, I think it's about 2.9 or 3%, what we have seen is that the food inflation and the energy inflation are the highest. Our food inflation is almost 11%, 10.9%. Our energy inflation is 14%, saying that food has increased by about 11% on average in the last year, and energy by about 14%. And that is significant, and you feel it. And the question is, how do we minimize that?
Dr. Henry says the ACCB sees Dominica as the region's food basket, and food and nutrition security is one of the key pillars of transformation.
And see Dominica investing more heavily in agriculture, more heavily in agritourism, more heavily in agro-processing as part of our way out of that. And if we can do more in terms of the food that we have, if we can become more self-sufficient in our vegetables, if we can become more self-sufficient in meat, because what are the biggest imports now? It's cereal products, it's meat, and it's grain. And if we can be more self-sufficient in meat production, in fact, at the meeting of cabinet, the Prime Minister said that we will fully 100% could supply for pork. We could do for eggs. Persons use a lot of chicken. Can we now move towards being more self-sufficient in chicken? And if we are able to do a lot of that, our vegetables, our grain, but not just self-sufficient, but do enough to export to our ECCU or other members, but as well as beyond that, then I think that could be our path of transformation. Why? Because as Michael Porter argues, countries need to focus on their comparative advantage. What is it we are comparatively known for and good for? Ours is food.
The government of Dominica is committed to supporting the growth and development of small businesses with particular focus on women entrepreneurs. Minister of State with responsibility for entrepreneurship and small business development, Honorable Darren Pinard, says government is partnering with the Organization of American States, OAS, to implement a women's economic empowerment project.
The main objective of the WE project is to enhance the capacity of women entrepreneurs and women-led MSMEs to use and benefit from the digital economy to build sustainable livelihoods through trainings and workshops, to gain access to online resources, digital and financial literacy, the creation of an innovation hub or clearinghouse specifically for women, and connecting with the diaspora markets. Women small business owners are advised to register and benefit from the deliverables of this opportunity.
Government will continue grant programs and other initiatives aimed at creating an environment in which small businesses can thrive and contribute to the country's economic development.
These funds to be effectively utilized, our business management capacity skills have to be sharpened. The ministry will also be providing startup entrepreneurs with a platform to showcase their products while interfacing with buyers, potential investors, and generally creating markets at our soon-to-be-launched micro trade shows on June 9th at the Stadium Forecourt. the first of which will focus on health and wellness. Other trade shows will soon follow at various locations across the island.
51 small business owners representing various industries recently benefited from grant funding from the Ministry of Labour, Public Service Reform, Social Partnership, Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development. The Dominica Export-Import Agency DEXIA has hosted a special taste testing activity to encourage the purchase and consumption of locally grown white potatoes. The taste testing activity took place at the ground floor of government headquarters and at the Rosa Market on the 12th and 13th of May, respectively. The potatoes were supplied from the Joint White Potato Program implemented by DEXIA in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture. The public was encouraged to try the assortment of dishes prepared from the locally grown white potatoes. DEXIA's market development specialist, Mr. Cleve Saint-Jean, said the taste testing activity will solidify public opinion of the quality of the potatoes being produced.
So the expected outcome today is really to share with people the recipes, how wonderful these potatoes are. So we have the Spunta, which is the white skin, we have the El Mundo, the white skin, the red skin potato, which is the Desiree. And we want to prove that this potato can meet the standards of something that has been imported. As you know, Dominica, we're trying to reduce on our import bill, and this is one of the efforts in terms of import substitution with the staple crop like potatoes, a stable cash crop so that farmers can earn some monies, and at the same time the Dominican public can get something wonderful to have, and just that.
DEXIA has provided support to white potato farmers in Dominica through the provision of seeds, fertilizer and agrochemicals and post-harvest training through the White Potato Program. After the harvest, DEXIA took responsibility for curing the produce with equipment provided by the World University Service of Canada, WUSC, and sorting and storing of the potatoes until further distribution. This year's potato harvest season has shown excellent yields. Honourable Shakira Lockhart Hippolyte, Member of Parliament for the Rosa South constituency, says once labour challenges are addressed, Dominica is on its way to becoming the food basket of the world.
Dominica is the breadbasket of the region, you know, because of our rich and fertile soil. I mean, if you just throw a seed, something will grow. But what we have to do is to encourage our farmers to plant more, because we do have the ability to provide not only for all Dominicans, but for the rest of the region. And we can extend to some of our French islands as well. And so one of the challenges that most of the farmers are complaining about is one of farm labor. And I know the Minister of Agriculture is working on a proposal to ensure that we can get people to work the farms. And once we can do that, we are well on our way to be in the food basket of the world.
Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Blue and Green Economy, Honourable Roland Royer, stated his satisfaction with the event and encouraged individuals to support the white potato farmers.
I think today's event is a very good initiative. The sampling of the locally grown white potatoes is a very, very good one. I had my taste myself. I think the texture and the taste is comparable to anything imported. So I'd like to take this opportunity to encourage Dominicans as a whole to buy local and support the white potato farmers.
And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I'm Julian Morris. Thanks for watching.